Good afternoon, Dutch Road Dolphin third graders. Today is May 28th, 2020. It is day 4 of your packet for this week. Keep hanging on, guys. One more week to go after this week, and then you guys will be able to enjoy your summer. Okay, so we're just going to go ahead and get started with the notebook. So, as I said, it's day 4, May 20, oops, I put the wrong date. Let me fix that. May 28th, 2020. I made this yesterday, so I put yesterday's dates. Okay, so your first task was your vocabulary task. You've been working on these context clues question sets. So today was day 4 of those. The first sentence says, Mr. Sims loves it when his students get to class before the bell rings. He expects them to be prompt and get their work done each day. So your answer choices for the meaning of prompt were on time or tardy. The answer to the definition is on time. Prompt means on time. The type of context clue it is definition, because in the first sentence it says he loves it when his students get to class before the bell rings. So being prompt and on time would be before the bell rings. That's why it's not tardy. If it was tardy, it'd be after the bell rings. So that would be a definition context clue. Number 2 says the seagulls never really got wet. They hovered just above the waves, waiting to see fish that they could swoop down and catch. For your answer to what the word hovered means is be hung. They didn't dip because it says they never really got wet, and it says they hovered just above the waves, waiting to see the fish that they could swoop down and catch. So I know that swoop down and catch part might have gotten you and made you think the answer was dipped, but it's actually hung because they did this before they dipped down. And then the context clue type is example because they're just above the waves, so that's your example of hovered. Okay, the next thing you had to do was to read the tornado drill and then answer some questions. I'm going to try to move the screen so we can see. Might have to move it back. Okay. So we're going to read this first and then we will answer the questions that went with it. The tornado drill. The alarm went off again. Jonas knew what to do this time. They all had to go out in the hall, sit next to each other, and curl up into a ball. This was in case there was a tornado. Jonas hadn't understood how in the world going into the hall and curling up into a ball would help you if you got hit by a tornado. Then his teacher had told him that you went into the hall to be away from windows that might break during a tornado. Curling up was in case something fell on you. That's why they put their hands over their neck to protect it in case something sharp fell. Molly had just joined the class and she sat next to Jonas. When the alarm went off, Molly hid under her desk. Jonas had to tell her to get out from under there and follow the class in the hall. It turned out to be a drill just like last time. After a few minutes, all the students went back into their classroom and sat back down at their desks. After school, Jonas teased Molly about hiding under her desk when the alarm went off. "Scaredy cat," he said. Molly laughed at him. "I wasn't scared," she replied. Molly explained. She had moved to Oklahoma from California last week. In school in California, when the alarm went off, it was an earthquake drill, not a tornado drill. During the earthquake drill, you were supposed to hide under your desk. Kanisha overheard them. She told them she had just visited her cousins in Florida, and there they are more likely to face a hurricane instead of a tornado or an earthquake. One time, the weather forecaster on the nightly news said that a hurricane had formed near Florida and that the hurricane would probably impact the area. So school was closed completely the next day. There are other storms that can be predicted at least a day before they hit, and schools might close if severe weather were likely to impact the areas near the schools. Jonas had cousins in Minnesota. They told him that they had 3 days in a row with no school because it wouldn't stop snowing. They had known about the snowstorm from a prediction by the weather forecaster the day before it started to snow. Any storm is scary, but I think earthquakes and tornadoes are the scariest, Molly said. The weather forecaster can probably tell you if a hurricane or snowstorm will come. With earthquakes and tornadoes, you never know. So your first question was, why did Molly hide under her desk during the tornado drill instead of going into the hall like Jonas? So we're going to go back and find the spot where she hid under her desk. And so at the beginning, she hid under her desk, but after he calls her a scaredy cat, she explains why she did it. So we're going to underline, or actually I'm going to bold and underline this part because that's where I found the answer. I can't highlight on here, but if you guys were able to, you would have highlighted it. And it said she had moved to Oklahoma from California last week. In school in California, when the alarm went off, it was an earthquake drill, not a tornado drill. During the earthquake drill, you were supposed to hide under your desk. So that's what the text said, and that was our answer. I said Molly had just moved from California, and she thought that the alarm meant it was an earthquake drill, not a tornado drill. During an earthquake drill, you are supposed to get under your desk, so that's what she was used to doing. The second question says students in Oklahoma, California, Florida, and Minnesota all have different ways of responding to weather in their areas. What evidence from the text supports this conclusion? So your task was to go back into the text and underline or bold any evidence that supports how each school responds to their weather. So the first part was Oklahoma, and that's where the story takes place. So we're going to highlight and bold this part. Then the teacher told him that you want to be away from the windows that might break during a tornado, and you want to put your hands over your neck to protect it in case something sharp fell. So that's how Oklahoma responds to their weather. And then we already underlined and bolded the part about California and how they respond to their weather. So we'll just use that in our answer as well. And then the part where Kanisha talks about Florida, she talks about how they closed the school for a hurricane. And in Virginia, we've definitely experienced that as well. And then lastly, it asks about Minnesota, and Jonas talks about that by saying his cousins had missed 3 days of school for a snowstorm, and we obviously have experienced that here in Virginia as well. So as my answer, I went back and wrote, the story takes place in Oklahoma where they have tornadoes, which is why they were having a tornado drill. Molly was from California where they have earthquakes and earthquake drills. Kanisha explains that her cousin lives in Florida where they canceled school for a day because of a hurricane. Jonas had cousins who lived in Minnesota and they had missed school for 3 days in a row because of a snowstorm. So I went back and I found the evidence that supported the statement about the students in the different states have different ways to respond to weather in their areas. Some of them have drills to practice what would happen because earthquakes and tornadoes are not predictable. So you can't just cancel school when you know that they're about to happen. But hurricanes and snowstorms are a little bit more predictable. So for those, school was canceled. Okay. For your writing, you were to discuss with a family member and write a plan for what you would do if there was a tornado watch. Now, I wrote what we've done because we've had tornado watches since we moved into my house. We have actually a decent amount where I live because I'm near the water. So what I wrote was, when there is a tornado watch or a warning, because warnings just mean that it's possible, but I go ahead and get everything ready anyway. So when there is a tornado watch or a warning at my house, the first thing that I do is clean a few things out of the pantry so that we can take shelter there if needed. So when I say I clean a few things out, I just take out like the big tub of dog food and a couple of other things to make room. The reason that we use our pantry is that it is the only room in our house that is downstairs and does not have any windows. Remember, you can't be in a room with windows during a tornado, if at all possible. I have a box that I keep in the pantry with flashlights, a phone charger, some snacks, and bottles of water in case we need it. If I have time, I also grab some pillows and blankets to keep us comfortable while we are in there. Once I have it all set up, my husband and I grab our daughter and our dogs, and we all sit in the pantry until the tornado warning is over and it's safe to come out. And then, like I said, the pillow and blanket part, that's only when I have time. So like if it's a tornado warning and they say, okay, it's possible, then I go ahead and get it all set up and put the pillows and blankets in there. If it's a watch and they say, you know, you have like 3 minutes before it might hit you, then I go ahead and just take my daughter in there. We just skip the pillows and blankets. Okay. So now we have a math problem. It says Madison has some pennies, nickels, dimes, and quarters in her pocket. She counts the coins and she has a total of $4.63. Use the following clues to determine how many of each coin Madison could have in her pocket. She has an odd number of quarters. She has more dimes than nickels. She has fewer than 20 pennies. And then it says explain your thinking using pictures, numbers, and words. Consider making a video to share your thinking about which coins Madison could have and why. Okay, so the first thing I did was take all of those clues and put them back down here. So the first clue is that we have a total of $4.63. The second clue is that we have some of each type of coin. So no coin can have a zero amount. You can't just say, I'm not going to put any nickels. There's an odd number of quarters. So I wrote the odd numbers 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, 13, 15, 17, 19, and so on. And then the number of dimes is greater than the number of nickels, and the number of pennies is less than 20. So what I did is I went ahead and started the problem by putting one of each coin, because that was one of our clues, that it had to be some of each type of coin. And then I put an extra dime because we have to have more dimes than nickels. So if you definitely have one nickel, then you're definitely going to have 2 dimes. Now the next thing I want to do is I'm going to, and there are different ways that you can solve this problem. I'm going to, let's see if I can get my pen to come up. Actually, we'll just type because I'm not very good at using the pen. So the first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and get my pennies out of the way. I know that there has to be less than 20 pennies, but I want to try to use my pennies to make my number easier to work with. And what I mean by that is to make it a nice round number that's easier to count up to. So if I have to have less than 20 pennies, and my number is $4.63, I could just have 3 pennies, and then I would only need $4.60 because I would already have that 3 cents. Or I could do 13 pennies, and then I would only need $4.50 more because I would have 13, which would be 110 and 3 ones. So I'm going to do the 13 pennies because with money, I like working with 50 cents and better than 60 cents. So I'm just going to go ahead and drag 13 pennies down here. That's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Let's double count that. That's 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Let's see if we can get this one more. Gotta fit. 13. Okay, so there's my 13 pennies. I have less than 20 pennies, so I followed the rules. And that makes it easier for me to count the rest of my money. So I'm going to go ahead and subtract that 13 cents that we've already put We're going to ignore the fact that we already put quarters, dimes, and nickels for now, just for this purpose. So without the pennies, I now need $4.50. Because 3 minus 3 equals 0, 6 minus 1 equals 5, and 4 minus 0 equals 4. Bring down your decimal point. We're talking about money, so we should have a money sign. And there we go. So now we need $4.50 still. Let's count how much we have, and we're not counting the pennies anymore because we've already taken them out of our total. So right now I have 1 quarter, 2 dimes, and 1 nickel. My quarter is 25 cents, plus 1 dime makes 35 cents, and another dime makes 45 cents, and a nickel makes 50 cents. So if I have $4.50 already, let's move this, get this to $4.50 is what I need, I'm sorry, and then I'm taking the 50 cents that we already have showing right there. Then what I have left that I need is $4 more. Okay. So I need $4 more. That's where we're at right now. Okay. So remember, I need an odd number of quarters. So if I add 4 quarters to what I already have, 4 quarters equals $1. And I still have an odd number of quarters because I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I just added another $1 to it, but I still need $3. So I could, if I wanted, I could continue to add some quarters, and I'm going to add just a few more. I'm going to subtract or delete this one. So I'm going to add 4 more quarters, which is another $1. Now let's see how many quarters I have. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 quarters. I have an odd number of quarters still. And let's keep our running tally. So since we counted and realized that we needed $4 more, we have added $2 to it because we've added 8 quarters. So we now need $2 more because $4 minus the $2 we just added in quarters equals $2. So we have left that we need $2. How can I make $2? I'm going to add some more dimes and nickels. But remember, for every nickel I add, I need to add at least 1 dime because I need more dimes than nickels. So I'm going to count them as I add. I'm going to do, oops, why isn't it? 1, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80. Now I'm going to do some nickels. So I'm at 80, 85, 90, 95, $1. So now, out of the $2 left that I needed, I've added another $1. So now I just need $1 more. And to make it easy, I'm just going to add 4 more quarters and then we'll double check our totals, and we will check that we have followed all of the rules. So quarters are kind of running out of room here. We're just going to put it over here. Okay, so let's double check first that we followed all the rules. Remember, these up here don't count. So we needed less than 20 pennies. We have 13 pennies, so we do have less than 20 pennies. We have more dimes than nickels, which was one of the rules, and we need an odd number of quarters. So I'm going to count the quarters really quick. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 13 is an odd number, so we do have an odd number of quarters. Okay, the last thing we need to do is make sure that we have $4.63, and if we do, then we have followed all of the rules for this problem. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to count each of our coin types, and then we'll add those numbers together. So I have for quarters 25, 50, 75, $1. So I'm going to put the dollars together. I have 25, 50, 75, $2. When I count coins at home, this is what I do. I stack my quarters into dollars. 75 or 25, 50, 75, $3. So I have $3 plus one more quarter is 25. So I have $3.25. We're gonna have to move that over a little bit so that it can all fit together. Okay. There we go. All right, so I have $3.25 in quarters. Dimes are so easy to count. We're going to count by tens. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, $1. So in dimes, we have $1. Okay. Now, nickels, we're going to count by fives. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. So for nickels, we have 25 cents, which can be shown with a cent symbol or a dollar symbol. I'm going to do it with the dollar symbol so that it matches up with the rest. And then finally, we have our pennies. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. We have 13 cents. And so now we just need to add all those numbers together. So in quarters, we had $3.25. In dimes, we had $1. In nickels, we had 25 cents. I always put that 0 before the decimal point when I'm doing coins so that I can keep my numbers lined up, in case anybody was wondering why I do that. You don't have to, but it really helps you to keep your numbers lined up. It also shows you that that decimal point isn't just like an accidental dot you put on your paper. Okay, so we're going to add all these totals together. I know at first that might seem like a lot to add 4 numbers together like this, but they're going to be pretty easy numbers to add together. So we have a 5, a 5, and a 3. Well, we know that 5 plus 5 is 10. Sorry, I'm trying to get my pen at the same time I'm talking to you. And 3 more is 13. Now remember, when we're adding, we cannot put two digits in one place value, adding, subtracting, anything. You can't ever put 2 digits in one place value. So if we have 13, that's 13 is the same as 10 ones, 1 10 and 3 ones. I'm so sorry, I misspoke. 13 is the same as 1 10 and 3 ones. So we're in our ones place. We're going to go ahead and put the 3 down here where it goes, and we're going to go ahead and put that 1 back up here. Then we have, this isn't long enough. Okay, that's better. Then we have a 1, a 2, a 2, and a 1. So 2 plus 1 is 3, and then this 2 plus 1 is 3, and 3 plus 3 is 6. So we can just go ahead and put that 6 right there. I know that looks more like a B. I'm not very good at drawing with a mouse. Okay, and then we bring down our decimal point, put it in the same spot it goes, and then we have 3 plus 1 equals 4. So the total amount of money that we have is $4.63. Is that what we were supposed to have? Let's double check. Total of $4.63. So we have exactly how much we were supposed to have. If you got a different amount of each type of coin, but you still added up to $4.63, you still had at least one of every coin. You had an odd number of quarters, and your dimes were greater than your nickels and less than 20 pennies, then you did it right. There's so many ways we could have done this problem. There's so many right answers. So all you have to do is double check your coin amount and then make sure that each one of the rules has been followed. If you have any questions about if you did it correctly, just reach out to your teacher and we'll be able to help you with that. Okay. So the next thing you were supposed to do was to read about hurricanes and then answer the questions. So I'm going to read this little passage about hurricanes, and then I'm going to go over the questions that went with it. A hurricane is a huge storm that forms over the ocean. A hurricane usually lasts for over a week, gaining strength as it travels over the warm ocean water. When a hurricane hits land, it brings strong rain and winds. Hurricanes can damage buildings and trees. It can destroy where animals live and make it difficult for animals to find food to eat. Hurricanes can cause huge waves to crash on the shore. This can cause beach erosion and flooding. With high winds, hurricanes can cause power lines to fall down. Okay, so the first question asks you, what is a hurricane? Notice in my answers, I made all of my answers complete sentences. And that's just a good habit to get into. So I said a hurricane is a huge storm that forms over the ocean. That came straight from this sentence here. Almost word, well, actually word for word. That was the answer. Number 2, how long do hurricanes last? Well, that's answered in the next question, or in the next sentence, where it says a hurricane usually lasts for over a week. Then number 3, what gives hurricanes strength? That's also part of the next sentence where it says gaining strength as it travels over the warm ocean water. So that warm water is what gives the hurricane its strength. What happens when a hurricane hits land? When a hurricane hits land, it brings strong rain and winds. Hurricanes can damage buildings and trees. So that's your answer. Number 5, how can hurricanes hurt animals? The hurricane can destroy where animals live and make it difficult for animals to find food to eat. And finally, it said, draw a picture to show waves crashing on shore during a hurricane. I went ahead and found a picture. This is a real picture of the waves during probably the start of a hurricane, because there's people out there, and I think if it was in the middle of the height of the hurricane, those people wouldn't be there. But those waves are pretty big. They can get much bigger depending on how bad the wind is in a hurricane. And then it gave you the option to visit Pebble Go. So we're going to go ahead and get out of this smart notebook, and I'm going to find where I have Pebble Go for you. Let's see. It's going to be a second because, okay. So here we are. Let's see if it'll share it. There we go. Okay, so what are they? Hurricanes are huge, strong ocean storms. They can bring big waves, strong wind, and heavy rain to shore. Hurricanes form over warm tropical ocean water in summer and fall. And that word tropical means having to do with the hot and wet areas near the equator. How do they start?
How do they start?
Oops. Wet air rises above warm oceans. Wind starts to blow hard. Wind and rain form many thunderstorms, and we all know what thunderstorms are. The storms come together in a spinning circle. The middle of the circle is called the eye. So that's like that, like it looks open right there. That's the eye of the hurricane.
Who studies them?
Okay, so meteorologists. A meteorologist is a person who studies and predicts the weather. So they use satellites, which is a machine circling Earth that gathers information, and radar, which is a tool that sends out microwaves. Some, not the microwave you cook in. Some of the microwaves bounce off objects and return to be measured. So meteorologists use satellites and radar to show a hurricane's path. Hurricane hunters fly airplanes into the hurricane. They measure wind speed, temperature, and pressure. We know what temperature is. Pressure is the force produced by pressing on something.
How are they measured?
A hurricane's strength is measured by its wind speed. It is given a number from 1 to 5 on the Saffir-Simpson scale. A 5 is the strongest hurricane and a 1 is the weakest. The Saffir-Simpson scale is a scale from 1 to 5 that rates a hurricane based on its wind speed. The scale helps experts guess how much damage and flooding the hurricane might cause. So, and in our area, we've had quite a few hurricanes. I think I've only experienced one in my life that was a Category 5 when it hit. I've experienced a few 3s and 4s and quite a bit of 2s and 1s.
Staying safe.
Hurricanes can destroy towns with wind and floods. Listen to reports on radio and TV. Obey hurricane warnings that tell people to evacuate the area. Pack food, water, and supplies. Evacuate means to move away from an area until danger has passed. And then if you liked this topic, it gives you a few other topics you may like, and some books that kind of go with it as well. So the articles that they have on here are Lightning and Thunder and Thunderstorms. And then some books that gives you are How Do Tornadoes Form, and then a book about hurricanes. Okay, so that is all for today. I hope you guys have a great rest of your week, and I'll see you next week. Have a great day.